Here at Under the Arch, we would like to express that all views are our own.
Despite being recorded from Wembley Stadium, what we say in the podcast will in no way reflect the views of anyone at the FA or at Wembley Stadium.
If you do happen to have any problems with what is mentioned in the podcast, please contact us at underarchpod@gmail.com. Thank you. Conversation and discussion from the home of football.
I'm Jak Richardson.
And I'm Will Taylor.
And this is Under the Arch.
This week we talk racism in Bulgaria,
The world's biggest footballing derbies.
wags at war,
And we're going to give you our picks for fantasy football this week. Hello everyone and welcome to episode 3 of the very first season of Under the Arch podcast. Will, how are you today?
Yeah, not bad, mate. Yeah, not too bad.
Not what I've heard. I think you've had a bit of a tough day.
I have
all
had a bit of a
accounts.
tough day, mate. Yeah, it's not been great. I've had,
Hopefully we can pick it up from here, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's the one thing I do want to mention. Obviously, I've been warned by some of my Under the Arch colleagues that absolutely is a word I say quite often. So
Yeah, absolutely.
So if you have a little, all of the listeners have a little tally today, and see how many we say. The winner, the person who gets it right, will win a competition. We'll announce at the end of the episode, though, shall we?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Let's crack right on. So we have started on a bit of a jolly note there, but unfortunately we are moving on to something rather more serious. We are recording this, obviously, the day after Bulgaria, England. Obviously not the greatest thing. Obviously 6-0 win's great, but unfortunately it was sort of shadowed by something more serious.
Yeah, it was overshadowed by the incidents off the pitch. Again, we spoke about it on last week's episode about how England had to set a precedent. I think we did without sort of ruining the game in terms of walking off. I think we stuck by our guns, and luckily the idiots left at half time, I believe, didn't they, when the announcement came out. So that was a positive, but again, totally unacceptable. I really hope it's got the spotlight it deserves now, and hopefully UEFA will do something about it, because it's getting out of hand, I think.
Yeah, no, it's a massive shame, and it's something I touched on last week. I didn't want England's performances to be overshadowed by this situation. Obviously, a 6-0 win is really good, especially after losing the Czech Republic, and everything we're reading, everything we're hearing is not about that, which is such a shame. Obviously, in this, it wouldn't be anyway. For this to happen, it'd be wrong if it wasn't addressed and it was all about the football. But I was actually reading an article earlier from the Times, from Henry Winter, who's actually a journalist I think is really good. He's definitely at the top. Yeah, he was saying how he thinks actually we should have walked off to really set an example, to make a statement. Obviously, I think staying on was brilliant. And showed a sort of what was inside the England players' minds, showed a lot of strength to carry on playing into the second half. But what do you think in terms of what he said there and saying we should have walked off? Do you agree with that, or what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I like I said in last week's episode, I think we should set a precedent and walk off, and I wouldn't have been angry if we did, because it's the right message to send, that if you're getting it, don't put up with it, walk off. But we also dealt with it in a really nice manner. There's a lot of togetherness in the team, and that showed. What I really liked about it the most is that obviously there is a few black players and a few white players in the England team, and it was just as much the Jordan Hendersons and people like that were going up and complaining about it as it was. It was very much a together team that were all fighting for the same cause. So I really appreciated how together England were. I think it was just we really showed ourselves in a good light. Bulgaria have shown themselves in an appalling light. Even if they did manage to qualify for the Euros, I don't think they should be allowed to go, because they've ruined it. They've ruined it for themselves. And I think they're a disgrace. But had we walked off, it would have been fine. We didn't, and I thought that was fine as well. I thought we just made a really good account of ourselves.
Yeah, that's definitely true. We to fight on and sort of fight against it all was really good. It didn't affect the performance at all, which I think is great. As well, afterwards, Tyrone Mings had a post-match interview, and he basically said, look, as terrible as it is, he's not going to let it take anything away from the experience. Obviously, it's his first England cap, which I thought was great to see. I know it's a terrible situation, but it's nice to see that the mentality within the England squad and the players, they can sort of fight through it.
Absolutely. The thing is, my biggest issue, alongside the obvious issues, was the Bulgarian manager's comments after the game. I thought that was disgraceful. The fact that he came out and claims he didn't hear it, and claims that the England fans are more at fault for their hooliganism. And I say that in inverted commas, because it's always a bit of a treacherous subject. But how can you come out when the UEFA officials have heard it, made a tannoy to say stop it, and you can claim you haven't heard it and blame the England players for it, especially when their captain has gone over at half time, pop off their captain to tell them to stop, and then claim that was about something else. It shows the racist agenda that there is in Eastern Europe, and shows that it needs to stop. I don't know what you thought of that, but I just thought that was terrible.
I agree with you there. You're right, in terms of the fact that the game was stopped, there was a tannoy, there was plenty of announcements about it. The fact that the manager can still go and say he didn't hear it is ridiculous. Had there not been any sort of official sort of confirmation of what had happened, any stoppages in the game, and he went and said it, as much as I wouldn't have agreed with it, I'd say there's nothing you can do about that. You can't prove it wrong, you can't prove it right. The fact that there was official stoppages and he still has the audacity to go and say that, I think is ridiculous.
Yeah, I think it's ridiculous. I think he probably needs, if it was up to me, I think he'd be sacked as well. I think how you can come out and go and say anything else when all the players as well have come out. And I think an unnamed player who has to not be named publicly has said it was premeditated from the fans, and they knew that, and it was all a bit of a ploy to get England to walk off, apparently, because they wanted to win the game. They obviously didn't get what they wanted, and the players were just as against it. But it's a real problem in Eastern Europe, isn't it? I think that's sort of the issue, is it is a real problem.
I feel like they're so far behind, sort of in a cultural sort of context, I think the world's come so far in such a short space of time. There was still, racism was still heavily evident, not so much in England, but definitely more in Western, in the US, even up until the 90s. We've come so far from that, but Eastern Europe just hasn't caught up at all, and it's such a shame to see, because we don't like visiting these countries to play football, which shouldn't be the case at all.
Well, what should, that's my next sort of question. What do UEFA do now? What do you think they should do to Bulgaria?
See, so I don't know what will change it. I don't think that's the problem. I don't think anything will change the racist views.
No, but
that's
if you
the only
kick them
problem.
Out, it makes them see what they're doing, doesn't it? That's my argument.
Going back to the same article I mentioned earlier from Henry Winter, he suggested education, which I think's a great idea. How well it can be implemented, I'm not too sure, but I think that's the only way you can actually change their state of mind. As you said, I don't think the hooligans care about the football. They went to go be racist.
But what I mean is, if even if you kick Bulgaria out of UEFA competitions for however many years, they don't have that opportunity then. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
Because those teams aren't, with the greatest respect, Bulgarian league teams don't get into the Champions League. I think a few might get into the Europa League, but they don't. They're not at the highest level to really voice their racist agendas. So maybe just banning them from Europe and not letting, because we're just letting our players go over there and be racially abused, which in future I don't think we will. I think we might actually, this might be the catalyst now to stop this sort of thing happening.
Yeah, well, at some point it might evolve into more than just vocal abuse as well. Our players, their health, could actually end up being at risk. You don't know what's going to happen in terms of premeditated attacks, even sort of not even premeditated, just something happening at the game. You just don't know what's going to happen. So it is a real problem, and I hope they're going to have a better view of it now. Yeah,
it's a huge issue, and I think they need to have a better view of it. The other news that came out of it all was obviously that the football union president resigned on the call of the prime minister, didn't he? After it all, because he was just not a fan of obviously what the football union president had done, and not surprisingly so.
Yeah, no, it's really good that I say really good. It's not an ideal situation, but it's nice to see that some action's been taken so swiftly. Okay, well, we do actually have some breaking news as we record the podcast, which is really interesting. The Bulgaria Football Union spokeswoman says that the police special forces have raided the Football Association's headquarters in Sofia. So that's the Bulgarian Football Association's headquarters are being raided by special forces now on the back of what I assume is all about premeditated racist agendas in a bid to win the game. So that could be very much a developing story in the next few moments. That's really interesting. Yeah, no, that is interesting.
But again, I think that backs up everything we've just said, doesn't it? That's what's going on in Bulgaria at the moment.
And that is that's a big thing to
big
happen.
Story. Yeah, I mean, obviously that's literally just breaking right now. So that is that's amazing that's happened as we're here. But yeah, I mean, like we were just saying about the football union president, perhaps that's why he's resigned, and perhaps that's why the Prime Minister called for him to resign. I think they were trying to cover all this up, and I think it might have just come out for them. Yeah. So I think that we could definitely see something going on in Bulgaria over the next few weeks, which might see them kicked out of Europe, and I certainly hope so, because I think their behaviour and everything they did last night was absolutely despicable.
it's just there's no place for it in football.
No, and I think what I actually really liked as well was all the people saying, coming out, and all the tweets from the players after the game. And there was no sort of, because normally when you beat a team, it's normally like great to get out there again, and it wasn't anything like that. It was the main focus of all the players' tweets yesterday was that we'd done so well to fight against adversity there, and that there was no place for racism in football. So the England players set a precedent for the younger people in this country, which I really admire. So.
Yeah, that's definitely the best thing about it. They've gone about it in quite a good way. They could have reacted in a much different way. Mm-hmm. I think they've remained really professional, and as role models, I think it's a really good job, the way they've responded to it all. I
totally agree. Obviously, thoughts are with everyone who was racially abused out there. I think it's a terrible thing to happen. And one point I do want to make, actually, I'm not sure on the ins and outs of it, but there was obviously an England fan who went over to Bulgaria and didn't manage to make it home, did he? So obviously thoughts of his family and friends. That must be a terrible time.
Yeah, it's horrible. You don't go to a football game and not without before returning home.
No, absolutely. So that's really sad. But yeah, no, our thoughts of everyone there. Anyway, should we move on to the next section?
Yeah. So sticking with international football initially.
Yeah.
World's biggest derbies.
Yeah.
So for those who didn't know, on the day of recording today, which is Tuesday.
It is Tuesday.
I had to think about that one there. Massive derby. North Korea, South Korea.
The Korea derby.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of a clever name for it, but it's not coming to me here.
It might come at some point. But
yeah, I think. Well, it'll probably come when we're halfway through talking about.
You'll probably think about it post-recording.
Yeah. Well, it'll be in the caption if that's the case. But there is a joke in there somewhere.
It's there to be had.
Yeah, a career-based joke. There's something there. I'll try and think. Anyway, but that obviously is one of the biggest derbies in the world because it's so political and it's so. And I think that's the thing with international
it's so
derbies.
much more than football.
Yeah, I think that's the thing with international derbies though, is that it's never about how close you are to the country. Like, we don't particularly hate France, do we?
No.
Other than their home nations, that's our closest country.
Yeah.
So we don't particularly hate them. It's more about the political side of things. Like, I know there's a massive rivalry with Argentina, isn't there?
Yeah, of course.
England, Argentina, after everything with the Falklands, obviously. So I think it's all really reflective of the political situation, and obviously it doesn't get much more tense than North Korea, South Korea, does it? So it's really interesting that they've actually let those two teams play. Or is it part of the qualifying group? Or is
basically it's not actually,
because I'm not very clued up.
Yeah, so here's where it gets interesting. It's not actually that odd that they play against each other.
Is it not?
It doesn't happen frequently, but obviously they are in the same qualifying groups when it comes to major tournaments. So this qualifying one here was for the Asian Championships. So basically they're Euros.
Yeah.
They can get drawn against each other at any time.
Really?
What does make it interesting is when they play against each other, it's very often in a neutral country.
Okay.
So last time they played, I believe it was 1990.
So it's quite
which obviously is quite a while ago. But yeah, last time they played was in Shanghai. It's obviously whenever they have played, it has been in. I think Shanghai's been the place quite a few times, like 3 or 4 occasions. But they actually played in the capital city of North Korea today. Yeah,
okay.
Pyongyang.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the correct pronunciation. I'm not a connoisseur of North Korean words, but that's where it was played. But which is really, it's a massive development. It's a big step for the two countries, and it's the first time that's happened in a long time. But what makes it even more interesting is no media, nothing.
No. Was it not even filmed again?
It wasn't filmed. No one broadcast it, which I think is a joke. Because what an event! Yeah. I'd definitely have watched that.
And I think I would have as well.
Yeah, that's pay-per-view stuff as well.
It is
definitely.
Stuff, yeah.
But South Korean fans weren't allowed to go.
Well, that's.
And there was also no score updates either. You had to wait till full time.
Well, yeah, but did you? Maybe it's a lie.
Yeah.
What they told you the score was, because we know it's all a little bit.
Well, I've also heard that North Korean fans weren't allowed to attend, so I'm sure the North Korean newspapers tomorrow are going to be 12-0 victory.
Yeah, and I'm sure South Korea's probably going to be the same, so maybe we'll never know the truth.
We'll never know. Did they even play? Yeah. Who knows? Is it just another one of Rebecca Vardy's lies? Who knows?
We'll get onto that in a minute. That's going to be interesting. Going on to... I heard that Colin Mooney actually posted the score on private Instagram story. I'm not sure
it's going to be in the Sun tomorrow, I suppose.
Yeah, I suppose so. Anyway, so yeah, moving on from that, because obviously that is the localist of derbies, isn't it? I suppose one that divides a country quite literally.
Very literally.
So what? I mean, getting onto it, what do you think are some of the biggest derbies in football?
Well, I think when you think derbies, the most iconic, probably for most football fans, is going to be Boca River Plate.
Yeah, that's
which
huge,
is an unbelievable derby.
I mean,
one I really want to attend.
Yeah,
one day
I'd love
as well.
to, but I sort of wouldn't at the same time. It looks quite dangerous.
I always like watching. I think I want to be there, and then I imagine the fear of being there.
I mean, fireworks going off near your head doesn't particularly.
I don't even like them on bonfire night, so let alone in a stadium.
Exactly,
no, thank you.
But it would be amazing. It would be amazing to go to one of those. I think that's again a really, really fierce one, though, isn't it? It's properly like it's not.
Yeah, I think that one's also slightly political as well. From what I've read into it and in what I've seen from documentaries, etc., I think it's it's sort of a class divide between the two. I can't remember which way round it is, but I think one of the areas, Boca River Plate, is sort of the wealthier area. The other one being more slums, that's lower working class.
Yeah. That's very similar to the obviously the old firm, isn't it, of Rangers Celtic? That turns into a religious issue. Then I think that's really interesting. And I don't know how far you agree with this, but I think most derbies are actually less geographical, and the really fierce ones, the really aggressive ones, are actually based around an external subject like politics or religion.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's what makes derbies what they are most of the time, because there's some that are local that don't really get much time of day because there's not really much there.
No.
You know, just because a team's the most local team to you doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be a fierce derby. For example, although it's not political, Man United Liverpool has always been so much bigger than the Manchester derby.
That's sort of that's historical, isn't it? I mean, that goes back even further than the title and stuff, and that goes back to the 1800s when it was all about the ports of both cities going into different places and stuff. So, I mean, even then, I think like a lot of them. I think we were talking about the Millwall West Ham one the other day, weren't we?
Yeah.
It was all about the ports, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's basically the dock workers. I don't know the exact story, which I probably should.
Yeah.
But
being a West Ham
sort
fan.
of briefly, it's to do with dock workers, like the strikes they had or something. I think the West Ham fans did strike. The ones who were in Millwall, which is more sort of Bermondsey way, didn't. Sort of create a bit of a friction between the two sets, and there you go. As
we saw on Green Street.
Yeah, which is one of my favourite films. I'd say. Yeah.
But no, it's really weird that it's all political. But I mean, there's nothing better than a derby day as a fan, is there? It's fantastic.
No, there is. You're right. And imagine yourself. Would you say yours is Exeter?
It's a tough one with Torquay because we're sort of like the little brother in the middle of two arguing parents. That's the best way I can put it.
I suppose you got Plymouth.
You got Plymouth and Exeter, who are obviously the two. I can't bring myself to say this. The bigger cities in.
Sorry, can we just make sure we have a soundbite of that?
The biggest city. No, they are. That's true. That's a fact. That is a fact that there's two. They are two bigger cities than Torquay, because Torquay's not even a city.
I see you're reluctant there to say bigger clubs.
I can't say that. I can't bring myself to say that. But every time when we play Plymouth, it's not as bad because they were very much there for us when we were in looking like going into administration, and vice versa when they look like it. Exeter, it makes me feel sick just saying the words. To be totally honest, it's not for me. That's our derby. But again, we're not seen as their biggest derby. So do you call that a derby or not? That's
I'm not particularly clued up on Torquay Exeter rivalry.
Yeah.
I'd hope you are.
But they beat us in the playoffs.
Is there any? Is it literally just sort of geographical, or is there any?
From what I can gather, that one is purely geographical. And Exeter Plymouth again, I think it's weird because obviously London's so congested with football teams. It sort of has to be about something. Yeah. And, do you know what I mean? And that sort of thing. Whereas there's nothing down there other than there's 3 football teams for the whole county. The producer might not be too happy with me saying that as someone from Barnstaple, but there is nothing else in Devon at all. So those two being the only 3 teams, we've sort of got to make something out of nothing.
Yeah, I think as well, especially.
I think there is one between Exeter and Plymouth, but I don't particularly care or like both clubs, so I've never really looked into it. If I'm being totally honest. But no, there's nothing about Torquay with a little bit. I think we're seen as a little bit of a But there's been times where we've been above both of them in the league table. So that's enough for me to say
that's happened. That was in my lifetime as well.
Yeah, that wasn't your lifetime. That was.
I am aware.
Unfortunately, not anymore.
Yeah, unfortunately, not right now. But yeah, you're right. I think as well, rivalries do change a little bit from what I've seen. The lower down you go in the leagues, I think it does become more geographical.
Yeah.
I don't know why that is. I don't know why you don't get these big instances such as Old Firm, etc. And I suppose because the stakes are smaller in a way.
They are. Yeah, I mean you don't see teams really from. I mean another quite big one is Bristol City, Bristol Rovers, and that's purely geographical. But again, I've got a couple of friends who probably listen to this that are Bristol Rovers fans, and I'm sorry if you are, but the gap between them two is ridiculous now anyway.
It's huge.
So I mean, is that as much of a derby anymore? Would Bristol City be more inclined to see Cardiff as a derby? Just over the bridge, do you know what I mean? I know they really look forward to those games against the Welsh teams, so it's where you sort of draw the lines, isn't it?
There's some interesting ones out there though. I love derbies. I think they're so good as a fan.
Yeah, derby days.
The strangest one for me is Palace Brighton.
That's such a weird derby, isn't it?
Sometimes I've even asked Palace fans before, and they're like, "I don't really know, but we hate them." And I was like, "Well, why? I don't get. I don't know what it is."
Well, there's no one really near near Palace, is there? As a football team?
No, I mean, I suppose as a South London club, you could argue potentially. I don't know. You got Wimbledon round there. Yeah. Obviously, Charlton's not a million miles away.
Who are Charlton's rivals?
Well, I don't really know. They're kind of irrelevant. Like they could be our rivals, but they're just not.
Yeah.
Like because they are. Because I do know actually when we moved to the London Stadium, a lot of fans actually went over to Charlton and were like, "Oh, we'll support this."
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Really? They were
weird
that?
one. Yeah. I suppose there's Leyton Orient as well. They're not too far.
But again, they're a little bit.
But I think that's the thing with London clubs. It is not actually. Although most of them do end up being geographical, you got Arsenal, Tottenham.
But that's obviously historical. So isn't it? Arsenal, Tottenham. So.
They weren't always North London Arsenal.
No.
Either, so I think that's also what adds to it because they sort of took Tottenham space.
Yeah, they stamped on their turf, didn't they? Essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. But yeah, no, it's really weird how derbies work. But like you said, there is nothing better than a derby day. I'm going to ask you the definitive question: what is the biggest derby in football?
The biggest. Oh, I think I'd have to go Old Firm.
Would you?
Yeah,
okay.
I don't know. When I think derby, other than I think Boca River Plate is the most exciting and iconic, but when I think derby, I think the first that comes to my head is Old Firm. Yeah. It's huge.
I think especially in recent years since Rangers have got back up to the SPL, I think that's been huge.
Definitely.
And, no, I mean, yeah, I sort of have to agree with you. I think Man United Liverpool's massive. True. I really think it's huge.
Do you think it's getting a bit smaller though? Because it's coming this weekend.
Yeah,
the game.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is this weekend, and I think we'll get onto that.
I was thinking about they've got a 50-minute sort of feature beforehand, but to be honest, I kind of think although if United lose, maybe Ole will go, but I don't know if Liverpool win, they're further up the top of the league. If Liverpool lose, they're still at the top of the league.
Yeah, but it was like,
and even if United win, it's just paper over the cracks. I don't really see it as that big a game this weekend.
This is classical football fan having short-term memory because it was exactly the same. Do you remember the games Man United Liverpool being big from when you were little?
I do remember. I remember quite well actually Torres. It was a 4-0
Torres
win,
and the Gerrard days.
Yeah,
those days. You know, Liverpool very rarely in that time finished in the top four.
No, you are right.
And they were still huge games. It doesn't matter where either teams are. The history and the pedigree of that game is so huge. For me, it's the biggest derby in football. I don't think anything comes near it. I think it's huge. I really do. I think it is the biggest derby in the world for me. It's massive. But yeah, anyway, that's my opinion. So
yeah, well, anyone else?
Let us know.
On biggest derbies.
Yeah, please let us know. Should we move on to
another derby of sorts?
A derby of sorts, a Twitter derby.
Yeah, so we have got Vardy versus Rooney.
Vardy versus Rooney.
Not Jamie and Wayne. No.
No, you'd think it being in the media it would be.
You'd think so.
Wayne and Jamie,
but
wouldn't
no,
you?
It's Colleen and Rebecca.
It's Colleen and Rebecca, absolutely. Where do you even start on this one, mate?
It literally came from nowhere.
It has.
I almost feel as if someone out there has gone, Twitter needs a bit of spicing up today.
Literally, it is really like that. I just can't understand. I mean, I don't know what camp you're in, personally. I'm camp Rebecca. I'm very much behind the Vardys here. I think Colleen is snide for doing what she's done. Why is that not sorted over a phone call? Why does this have to be made public? I get it's juicy, and to be honest, we've all loved watching it unfold. But why does it have to go over a phone? Why is she not just rung and going, look, you're the only account that can see it. Why is there a paper sold? My story been sold to the Sun, and then she can go, oh, actually, hang on, we've got this many people managing my Instagram, which she definitely does, by the way. Rebecca Vardy definitely doesn't manage her own Instagram account. No celebrities do. So she's going, there's people managing it, and then someone who's seen it's gone, right, that's a quick buck then, isn't it? And she doesn't know anything about it.
Yeah.
That's genuinely what I believe.
I think sort of initially it's tough for me to be Team Vardy just because of what she has done or, is supposedly done.
She has done it, that's what I'm saying, yeah.
But then at the same time, I'm sort of, it's tough for me because Rooney... Colleen, not Wayne. I don't think Wayne wants to get involved in any way.
No, I don't think the boys do, though. Yeah, that's the thing.
Think the way she's going about it is a little bit out of order. They obviously are friends of some kind, or at least were. If she's the first time she saw it happen, she should have, just, as you said, just give her a phone call and gone, "Why are you doing this?
Yeah, that's all.
Why has this happened?" I do want to sort of get an answer because I still don't think there has been a definitive.
I don't think there will be.
Yeah,
I had a thought. Do you think this is a publicity stunt from both of them? Because they're both now. Vardy's getting on a bit, and he doesn't play for England anymore. Really? I know Wayne's coming back to Derby, but that news has sort of fizzled out. They're both as wags coming to the end of what their wag career is. Yeah. So what are they making themselves relevant when there's nothing else to make themselves relevant about? Is this all premeditated? Are they both on the phone laughing at everyone for getting excited about it?
In fairness, it was a bit too dramatic, wasn't it? Like
you look at that last line. It was ... Rebecca Vardy's account. I mean, come on. What are we? Are we in some sort of film or something? Like, for goodness sake.
It would make a good little film, wouldn't it?
It would make a brilliant film, but that's what I mean. Is this all a bit of a stunt because they're becoming irrelevant? I cannot remember the last time I heard a story about Colleen Rooney or Rebecca Vardy for that account. Yeah, exactly. Fair, yeah. So why not make yourself relevant with it? That's what I think might be true. If it is true, then I feel sorry. If it is true, like genuine, then I'm still on Rebecca Vardy's team. But even if not. But I don't think it is, and I think it's all a bit of a publicity stunt for both of them.
Well, big words.
I really genuinely do. Yeah. I really do. But I mean, what I have heard, vicious rumours flying around. Once Rebecca Vardy gives birth, is that they might be Eddie Hearn's interested.
Brilliant.
Might be stepping into the ring. Who are you backing there? Not backing in terms of who you think's right. Who do you think's got who in the ring?
I reckon.
Or should it be a wrestling match where they can tag in Jamie and Wayne?
Oh, if they tag in Jamie, I don't know. I reckon both of the Vardys have got a bit about them. I don't know what it is. I just got a good feeling.
Well, we saw what happened to Rooney against. Was it Phil Barsley?
Yeah, it's not the first time he'd have been knocked out. Yeah, it won't be the last. I just really hope, just for absolute scenes, she gives birth and just calls the kid Wayne. I'd love that, wouldn't you?
Or Colleen, that'd be brilliant. No, I know what you mean. I do feel sorry for Rebecca being that heavily pregnant and under that amount of stress in the media when she didn't necessarily need to be. But I don't have much time for either of them. I think it's all a bit of a. I genuinely believe it's a publicity stunt. So
we'll see how that unfolds.
Yeah, absolutely. I hope I'm right. If not, I've made myself look a bit stupid. But
yeah.
That's
me for the first time.
Oh, there we go. That's lovely. Absolutely. Right. So, shall we move on to the final segment?
Yeah, we should.
Yeah? Do you want to kick that one off?
Right, so fantasy football, finally back.
We're going to knock it down a notch. We're not going to do three.
Yeah, that was a bit hefty. It did last a long time, and I forgot who I was picking anyway, so I think it just came off the dome.
Yeah.
No, for me this week, Callum Wilson, captain.
Yeah?
Yeah, they got.
That's your pick, not miss, isn't it?
That's my pick, yeah.
Okay.
Reason being is he hasn't played over the international break, so he'll be fresh, I hope. Probably won't be now. I'm going to make him captain, and he just doesn't do anything.
Yeah. Okay. Who've they got then?
And they've got Norwich at home.
Right.
Norwich obviously conceded 5 against Villa, so not the best at the back currently.
No.
Even the games where they have won, they have.
Not think they might bounce back though.
I still think they're an attacking threat, but they have shown that at the back they can be a little bit shaky.
Yeah.
And I think Callum Wilson's been a class act this season, so if anyone can take advantage of that, I think he might be the one to do so. Obviously, as well, not as many people have him. I think your most popular strikers are going to be, and captains are going to be Aguero, Aubameyang, Tammy Abraham. I think people are still backing Pookie, so Wilson might be one to get you a few points.
Because no, to be fair, I was looking at my pick being Abraham this week, but I just thought everyone is going to have him in his team right now. He's one of the top goal scorers, isn't he? No, I respect that. I think you're quite right with that. So yeah, no.
And what about yourself?
Mine's Adama Traore off the back of his heroics for Wolves at Manchester City. I thought he was brilliant there. They got Southampton at home this weekend. As I've mentioned in the 2 previous episodes, I'm not a fan of Southampton at all. I'm not having Hassan Hüttl, or however you pronounce it, Not having him. Don't particularly rate Southampton. I think Traore will be able to do a job on them. He looks fantastic from right wing back. He looks a rejuvenated player from the player who played for Wolves last season. He's looking great down the right hand side. He's great defensively. He's great going forward. I think he'll chip in with a few goals, and I think he'll do well with his assists as well. So I think he's a great player to have in your team over the next few weeks. Not saying a captain, but I think he's a great player to have in the team. So I don't think he's very expensive either, so I'd get him in that team because he's going to be a regular starter for Wolves from now on. Who's your miss then?
My miss. So it's been a bit of a tough one in terms of misses this week, because I think any of the games can go sort of any direction. I'd probably have to say I'd probably take. I know it pains me to say it, but I'd probably take Haller out my team this week.
Would you?
I just got a really bad feeling. Yeah, I know Everton have been really poor recently. I'm just worried they're going to bounce back because they have got quality in the team. Yeah, I'm really shaky. I'm really worried about this game.
I have to say, that's actually a really real West Ham result.
Yeah, I know.
To go and lose to Everton after the great start you've had.
I know, and then we had so many chances against Palace and just awful. Like, I had to lose that game.
So you think he might dip in form a little bit?
Yeah, I've got a feeling this might be Everton are going to bounce back. Because as I say, they don't deserve to be. I mean, they do deserve based on performances to be where they are, but they've got so much quality in that team. I just think away as well to Everton, I just think they might bounce back, and it's not worth having him in the team. He's quite an expensive striker now, so cash in on him whilst you can. Or just any West Ham player, because I know Anderson's popular. A few people have got like.
But you wouldn't have them in your team.
I might not remove them completely. I'll put them on my bench, but
don't have them in the starting.
Not a lot of optimism for this week, I'm afraid.
All right, fair enough. I'm surprised at that, but it would be a very West Ham result.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm scared of.
In all fairness, so my miss, I've got 11 of them. 11 misses. I've gone a bit out there. I know we're only supposed to do one.
The whole team's 11 players.
So wait till Saturday, Sunday morning. And find out the Man United starting 11. And if you have any of those players in your team, take them out, because they will get absolutely hammered by Liverpool this weekend, and it's not worth having any of them in your team. They're not good enough going forward. They're too weak in midfield. If you have Fred in your team, delete the Fantasy Football app, because why you've even done it in the first place, I don't know. He's terrible.
It'd be a poor choice, in fairness.
Yeah, exactly. Don't bother with any United players this weekend. I think they'll be terrible. So. Yeah, no, that's my pick and my miss Traore, and miss any Man United player. I'm not having him.
So, based off of Will's comments, I am going to predict a Man United win. Just because he's had a really bad day today, and I'm sure that's going to... Yeah.
Well, I said it about Lloris and he broke his arm, so if that's anything to go by, then I think there might be... it might be a Man United win this weekend. Yeah, but no, that's my pick and my miss. So I believe we're just about out of time, aren't we?
Yeah, we are.
Yeah,
I'd imagine so. Yeah.
Yeah. So really enjoyed this week's episode.
Yeah, it's been a laugh. Yeah, it's been a bit of a. Well, I say a laugh. It started on quite a somber note.
Yeah, it did. But we've managed to make a laugh out of the rest of it. But yeah, fantastic stuff. So yeah, good week.
Yeah, I look forward to doing it again next week.
Yeah, look forward to doing it again next week, and we'll see you soon.
Yeah, thanks for listening, everyone.